So the first thing I'm seeing here is the Six of Cups, okay? And this is a non-traditional deck, by the way, and I'm using it for the first time. I hope it works out, but it so far has been giving me a lot of messages, so I like it so far. So the Six of Cups is about nostalgia. It's about, you know, walking down memory lane, doing something, yearning for something from the past and not wanting to change. And we also have the Four of Wands. This is the structure, the foundation. And the Four of Wands denotes pretty much a situation like something that is very, very stable. It can be very slow to change. It can be very, very rigid. And it has withstood the test of time. And so it doesn't feel like it needs to change. It doesn't feel like it needs to evolve. It doesn't feel like it needs to get with the times, okay? So I'm seeing here a situation where people are mired in or deeply ingrained in the past, and they're not willing to innovate. They're not willing to step out of their comfort zone. They're not willing to try new things, even though the reality is telling them that, you know, your old way is not really working. You need to be a little bit more innovative. You need to be a little bit more like, you need to think about the greater good. You need to think about, you know, getting all those apples from the tree, because what will inevitably happen is the bottom of the tree where everyone has picked the fruit is barren. And then the fruits that are on top, they're just going to rot. They're just going to fall off and no one gets to enjoy the fruit of that labor. Okay. So I feel like there's a situation here where there's so much room for innovation, for success. There's so much dynamism that can happen out of the situation, but there's a lot of resistance from other people because whatever you're trying to introduce, whatever you're trying to bring into the fold, that will guarantee a lot of success. We have the Sun here. This is like innovation. This is like, you know, that light bulb, okay? Like having a very ingenious idea, being recognized for ingenuity, being recognized for originality, being recognized for some type of a new way of doing, to streamline processes, to adapt, and to be innovative. And yet people are so stuck in the past that they're not able to accept this groundbreaking thing that you're trying to bring into the picture. So I feel like you have a lot of convincing to do when it comes to dealing with other people, showing them a better way to do things, showing them a healthier, a more less self-serving way to do things. But I feel like not everybody's going to be on board. So I feel like there is a little bit of a tug of war here. Okay. Like not giving slack, not giving leeway. These ropes, these banners are stretched pretty tight, and they're stretched because they want to maintain the status quo. And so, interestingly enough, we have the Devil, in which is traditionally the card of Capricorn. In this depiction, what it indicates to me is you're on top of the tree, you're looking down at the situation, and you're like, the people underneath, the little kids picking off the low-lying fruits, it's a little bit selfish. Okay, so I feel like you're trying to you're trying to find a way to incentivize people to behave in a better manner, to do things in a better manner. And you're just trying to figure out, like, what is their incentive? What can I use to motivate them? What is their main driver? And what can I do, or what can I, you know, say to persuade them into this better way of doing, this better way of thinking, this better way of living? And so I feel like, you know, the majority of the month, what's on your mind, or the big problem that you're trying to solve, is finding the right incentive structure, finding the right way to introduce this really groundbreaking situation into the picture, trying to get everybody on board and trying to get people to see outside of themselves, have a better, like, bird's eye view of a situation. Because once they start to see the whole situation and the larger picture, they might be inclined to do things differently. So I feel like you've got a challenge ahead of you, but I feel many of you, this is going to be a really, it's like a task that you are really eagerly wanting to take on, because you know that you can succeed in changing minds. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing here. So I guess the third image that I saw was, I see this And I've seen this, something similar on like Instagram, but this is a little bit different. So I see this table, okay? Somebody spins it and it turns into, so it's a round table. Somebody spins it and then the pieces like kind of realign and it forms like a flat surface. So it becomes like, it starts from a round table and then it becomes a rectangular table. And then somebody lowers the base and then it becomes like a futon. And then somebody raises it and it becomes kind of like a bunk bed. Okay. So what I'm seeing is innovation once more, but also something that is multi-purpose, multi-use, space saving, something very innovative, something that is very like, it's like a transformer. It takes on many shapes. It can take on many forms. It has multi functions, and it's something that is really groundbreaking. And through this, what I am seeing is, I feel like this multi-purpose, this multi-functionality object or thing is something that you are actively working on. You're trying to create a bundle. You're trying to consolidate situations or things into one single thing. So I'm seeing like instead of, going out to buy a chair, going out to buy a bunk bed, going out to buy a table, a round table for the living room, and then a rectangular table for the kitchen, and a futon for the living room. You're trying to get everything and consolidate it into one multi-purpose, multi-use object. Okay. For some of you, this can play out in the work environment where you have something that a lot of people use on a daily basis. And they have to go here to get to that round table. And they have to go here to find that futon. They have to come here to get the bunk bed. And, that's an analogy, of course. But it's almost like there's a lot of time, energy, and just effort wasted in trying to go to all these separate locations in order to get that thing that we want. You're trying to create a situation where you can consolidate and have everything in one centrally located area so that everyone that needs something, they can go there and have all their needs met. Okay. We're talking really mind-blowing inventions here, Capricorns. We're talking you kind of like on the verge of creating something or developing something that is going to be extremely time saving, labor saving, and just, all the way around is going to be one of the best ideas of the decade. So I feel like you're on the verge of creating this. It's going to be happening very, very soon. And I feel like you're tinkering with it. You're messing around with it. You're looking at prototypes. You're shopping around. You're crowdsourcing in a way. You're trying to ask people, how do you use this? How do you use that? And, what is important to you when it comes to, what is considered user friendly? So I feel like you're taking tallies, you're taking notes, you're taking other people's, it's like users' feedback into account. So that's what I'm sensing. Okay. Many of you are in a situation where people are very, very resistant to change. So in a way, you guys are kind of like the breath of fresh air blowing into this situation. And like the way your mind works, it's so fast and it's so innovative and it's so calculated and certain that a lot of people are very intimidated. Okay. A lot of people are just kind of like, afraid of your ideas, afraid of your plans, mainly because it's so unconventional. And that's weird for, a Capricorn reading. But I feel like no matter what, you guys have something nailed down and you're just like, if I bring this forth into the world, it's going to drastically enhance the way we do things. So you're on the verge of some major technological or even just creating some type of a prototype that will forever change the way that we work, or the way that the environment, or the way that your work situation, your family dynamics, the way that people operate. Okay. So I feel like it's extremely, space saving, energy saving, labor saving, time saving. So you're on the the verge of creating something very, very innovative, and just it's going to be amazing. And so I just want to say that you're going to face some opposition, okay, from naysayers, from people who are not on board because they're just, you know, mired in the low-lying fruit. Okay, they're mired in the path of least resistance. They're mired in, I honestly feel like, laziness. You know, they've been doing this for a really long time. They take the easiest way out, and they see what's really you know, like a foot in front of them, and they don't really want to exert the effort to do more. But I feel like whatever you're doing, it requires them to do more. It requires people to truly develop to their full capabilities. And people are really afraid of that. They want to coast by. They want an easy environment. They want something that they can do. And then when they get home, they can just tune it out. They don't want to think and plan and, you know, put in the effort. So I feel like you're facing a lot of resistance, but it comes in from, you know, people's inability to adapt, people's fear of technology, people's fear of newness, and especially people's fear that their old way of life, which they have used as a crutch, which they have used as a safety net. It's like that safety net is being ripped out from under them, and it can cause like a lot of defensiveness from their end, as well as defensiveness that can turn into, you know, anger, okay? Trying to shut you down, trying to resist, trying to not be on board, or like shoot holes in your theories or in your plans or in the things that you're trying to innovate, because they're afraid of it, okay? So just know that you are on the right path. There is going to be some tremendous revealing. We have the sun here, which is overall about success. Okay. This is a great card for people who are entrepreneurs, who are trying to like launch a business, who are trying to launch a career, who are finally like, they have something, and it signifies like having made it, getting recognition, getting a lot of people on board, being able to kind of like stand out from the crowd. Okay. So I feel like you're doing something here that is going to be, it's a tremendous effort, and I feel like it is so worth it, because it's going to change something structurally, like systemically or structurally. It's going to overhaul a very outdated system. Okay. So what I'm seeing as well, and I guess we're moving on to the fourth picture. I saw this card, the Tower, and I was thinking about like a crack in the foundation, okay? A big, big crack, okay? So what I saw, the image that came out when this card was like getting ready to fall out was I do see two people, so I feel like this might be a relationship type of a situation. And I apologize, my messages and the imagery that comes in tend to be a little bit more on the heterosexual side. But I see a man and a woman, and they're a couple, okay? They're a couple. And I see like a muted argument, okay? There's a lot of hand gestures. The woman is very, very emotional and just very expressive. She's talking, and the man is listening to her. He's not able to get a word in. He doesn't know what to say. And so keeping things gender neutral, I feel like you're dealing with somebody who has a lot to say, who has a lot of grievances, who might have a lot on their mind. And I feel like a situation where it feels a little bit like verbal diarrhea. Someone has kept something in for a very, very long time. So regardless of what gender you are that you're watching this, so you could be male and you could identify with the woman, the one that has so like repressed a lot and has a lot on her mind and has a lot to say. And she's just coming at it, like everything is pouring out. And then the partner is just like at a loss for words. Like, I don't know what to say. I didn't know these were things that were problematic for you. I didn't know that these things were a problem in our relationship. So I feel like there's a situation here where there is a fracture in the foundation of that relationship. There's some messages that are coming through here, and I keep getting cracks and fracture, but they're also showing up in the cards. Okay, we have the Tower, and we have here the Five of Cups, and they both have cracks in them. Okay, so there's this little crack in the saucer, teacup, and this big, big, big fracture here in the Tower. What I'm seeing here is I feel like there is a relationship here where one person was working behind the scenes, okay? And they worked diligently behind the scenes. They might have been the one to do all the cooking, to do all the cleaning, to take care of all the children, to make sure that the kids go to bed, to make sure the kid is bathed, to make sure the teeth are brushed, and they cook the meal, you know, and you can be the one that's doing this, or your partner is. But I definitely feel like there's a lot of there's like pent up resentment. Okay, I'm doing all of this, and it's really hard a lot of the times to see outside of ourselves. Okay, and I'm not talking just for you, Capricorn. I mean, like, for everybody. We know what we're doing. We always see what we're contributing to a situation. From, you know, the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, we are very aware of everything that we're doing. But a lot of the times we might not be aware of what all the effort that the other person is putting in, all the things that they have to do because they're out of our sight, right? And so I feel like there's grievances, there's resentment here between who's doing what. One person feels like they're putting in more work, the other person feels like they're not being appreciated. And I feel like it takes two to tango. It's almost like you could have a lot of success out in the world because you might have had a partner that did everything behind the scenes to help you get there. They, you know, did homework with the kids. They put the kids to bed. They cooked for the kids. They cook your meals. When you get home, there's like warm food on the table. And on the weekends, when you're doing overtime or when you're, you know, trying to innovate, this person was doing laundry, this person was cleaning the house, this person was vacuuming, this person was doing the dishes, and so on and so forth. So I definitely feel like there's a situation where somebody is feeling unnoticed, unrecognized, unappreciated. Okay? And I feel like it's pent up resentment. And I do sense like it has been a long time in the making, okay? This fracture, this strain, it's like the big saucer at the bottom is cracked by the weight that is above it, okay? So the way in which, I'm also seeing that balcony again. It's almost like all the people putting weight on it. It goes unchecked. It's not maintained. It's not being repaired. It's taken for granted, right? And I feel like because of that, over time, not only is it a crack to the saucer, it's a crack to the foundation of something very, very pivotal and important in your life, and it can't be fixed. So I feel like for those of you who might be in a situation where you're feeling like you're doing a lot and you're not getting that recognition from a partner, I feel like it's important to have this conversation. And then for others who are kind of like absent-mindedly, you know, kind of like working in a laboratory or working at home in your garage or in your study or whatever, you're tinkering with a lot of projects, you're tinkering with a lot of ideas. And I feel like you're not reserving the time and the effort and the energy into your relationships. And it's creating a little bit of an emotional rift between you and another person. And that needs to be changed, okay? I'm also feeling for many of you, there is a difficulty juggling responsibilities, okay? This is the home environment, Four of Wands. The home, doing, you know, the daily things that you have to do in order to maintain yourself. And then I'm also seeing, excuse me, this is the public environment. The Sun is about success, worldly success. And they're lying kind of like right on top of each other. So it's like juggling, finding the balance, you know, work life and then home life. Don't neglect one, or don't overly focus on one at the expense of the other. Okay, so I feel like there's a situation here where the delicate balance needs to be reached. We have here the temperance, the pouring of the cups, making sure that both areas are thoroughly satiated before you can find that inner balance. Making sure that there's give and receive, making sure that there's reciprocity, treating something in a very delicate, in a very fragile way, because you want to maintain that equilibrium. And so for many of you, there's a situation here where it requires a soft touch. It requires delicacy. It requires that you kind of like approach this situation in a very delicate and a very balanced manner. Okay. So I feel like it has the potential to be fixed here, but I feel like somebody is kind of like buckling under the pressure. And it's not so much the pressure from the external environment, but I feel like it's a situation where there's a lot of, I just feel like someone feels underappreciated. Someone feels like they're not meaningful in this situation. Somebody feels like almost invisible is what I'm seeing. Somebody feels like they're not pivotal to this situation. They feel like they're expendable. They feel like they don't matter. And I feel like you're very, very intuitive, Capricorns. You might know who this person is in your life. You might know that they've had a rough run at it, you know, for the past 5 weeks, 5 months, whatever the situation is. I feel like they're finding it a little bit difficult to cope under the pressure, under the expectations, or just like feeling like they're very much alone in a situation, and they just need like more reinforcement. Okay, so reinforcement here. So the fracture foundation needs to be fixed. It needs to be repaired. It needs to be reinforced. Okay, so reinforced like verbally, telling them affirmation, telling them the expressing the appreciation. Or it needs to be reinforced like physically and structurally so that the foundation doesn't fall apart further down the line. So there's something here that I feel needs to be worked at, needs to be looked at, needs to be fixed, needs to be nipped in the bud before it exacerbates and become a bigger problem. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing here. I feel like career and work is going tremendously well for many of you. I feel like the home environment, the love relationships might be a little bit like neglected to differing degrees. Some of you, it might be severely neglected. You might feel like I just feel like someone is it feels taken for granted. And then I also feel like there's a situation here, if things are not fixed, okay? If things are not discussed, if things are not talked about. We have here the Three of Swords, which indicates separation. We have here the Three of Cups, which indicates third party interfering in a situation. And I rarely like to mention this or even say it, but when the cards come out like this, I just feel like someone's had it. Someone is just like, I'm not getting my emotional needs met in this situation, so I'm on my way out. Someone might feel like tempted. Okay, we do have the Devil here, which deals with temptation. One might be like, this is a commitment that is too much for me. I want to explore greener pastures. I want to see what else is available for me. So I'm going to be on my way out. So I feel like there's a situation here where things are not addressed. Things have been taken for granted. Things have been kind of like assumed that it would be this way for all the rest of time. And I feel like someone's got a change of heart and they kind of want out of a situation that is no longer emotionally nurturing or emotionally satisfying or just reciprocal. So I definitely feel it is time to do some damage control in this situation to avert, a crisis down the line. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. There was another message I thought that came through. Let me see. So I took down notes because you had a lot of messages and images that came into the picture. I feel as well there is we have here the Six of Cups. and the devil. Okay, this is kind of like a blast from the past, and Mercury retrograde is notorious for exes coming back into the picture, misconnections to be making an entrance so that we can revisit. Okay, and then I also feel like a situation that happens in the past and we couldn't find a solution. This is a really, really good time for problem solving. Okay, so it's like revisiting things, revisiting situations, revisiting people, revisiting circumstances that didn't work out the first time, and trying to figure out how can we make this work. So it's actually a really great time for problem solving. It's a great time, not so much for making decisions, but problem solving, coming into sudden realization of something that we've been racking our brain trying to figure out the solution to. So it's a good time for inventors, for artists, for, people in the creative field or people who are thinking outside the box to be able to come up with amazing solutions. I'm also feeling as well with this Six of Cups and this Four of Wands, there is a person here that you might have attempted to build a relationship with. And I mean, a solid relationship, a home, a marriage, an engagement, a really serious, stable relationship. And for whatever reason, there were like situations interfering in this relationship. Okay, so we could have like addiction issues. We could have career success interfering in this relationship that otherwise would have been very, very good for the both of you, would have been very, very stable for the both of you. We have the Six of Cups, which is a soulmate connection, and the Four of Wands, which is marriage and stability, two people coming together in a very harmonious way. And I feel like one person was succumbing to the devil, which is temptation. And it doesn't even have to be third parties. It could be, a multitude of addictions that we have nowadays, which is tremendous, right? Like video games, drugs, alcohol, vices, like whatever it is. Somebody was like prioritizing these types of addictions rather than the connection. And then the other person was prioritizing work and status and prestige and money and, financial stability rather than the heartfelt connection in this relationship. So I feel like there was a situation here from the past that might have been taken for granted, that might have been overlooked, and it was very important. And now with its absence, this is the breakdown, the fracture in that foundation. With the absence of it, you start to realize what matters. And I feel for many of you, you're in a phase or in a period of time right now in the month of November, trying to work on yourself, trying to recoup, trying to, put it down out the fires, trying to rebuild. And just make sure that whenever you rebuild, you take all of this into account. A lot of the times people say that Capricorns don't take the emotional needs into account.